An island, surrounded by nothing but endless ocean. A hospital, built to confine the world's most dangerous criminally insane patients. And a missing person case that seems straightforward at first, but slowly unravels into one of the greatest psychological mysteries ever told. Our story begins aboard a ferry cutting through thick fog on its way to Shutter Island. This isn't an ordinary island. It's an isolated psychiatric facility where violent criminals with severe mental illnesses are kept far away from the rest of the world. On the ferry are two US Marshals. The first is Teddy Daniels, quiet man whose face reveals the weight of a painful past. His new partner, Chuck Oley, tries to lighten the mood by starting conversation. At first, Teddy barely responds. The rough sea clearly isn't helping, and Chuck notices that Teddy isn't feeling well. Trying to keep the conversation going, Chuck casually asks if Teddy has family. A faint smile appears on Teddy's face. "I was married," he replies. But that smile quickly fades. "My wife passed away." He doesn't say another word. Instead, he stares silently into the ocean, lost in his memories. Realizing it's a painful subject, Chuck respectfully changes the conversation. The two marshals have been assigned to investigate a highly unusual disappearance. Female patient named Rachel Solando has somehow vanished from her locked cell. The impossible part? Her cell was locked from the outside. The windows were protected by heavy steel bars. Security throughout the hospital was incredibly strict. There was simply no possible way she could have escaped without someone's help. That's exactly why Teddy and Chuck have been sent to Shutter Island. As the ferry arrives at the dock, they're greeted by Deputy Warden McPherson. Armed guards stand watch across the entire compound, carefully observing every visitor. Almost immediately, Teddy senses that something feels off. The atmosphere is tense, almost as if everyone is hiding something. McPherson escorts them toward the hospital. Along the way, they pass an old cemetery. One weathered gravestone catches Teddy's attention. It reads, "We were here. We loved. We laughed." A simple sentence, yet somehow, it makes the entire island feel even more unsettling. Soon, they arrive at Ashcliffe Hospital. McPherson explains that the facility is divided into 3 wards. Ward A houses the male patients. Ward B is reserved for female patients. And Ward C contains the island's most violent and dangerous criminals. No unauthorized person is ever allowed inside. Before entering the hospital, both marshals are required to surrender their firearms. Chuck hands over his revolver without hesitation. Teddy, however, pauses. Something doesn't sit right with him. He can't explain why, but he has the feeling that this island is hiding something far bigger than missing patient. Still, he has no choice. He reluctantly hands over his weapon. At that moment, the first seed of doubt is planted in his mind. Inside the hospital, they meet the chief psychiatrist, Dr. John Coley. Dr. Coley explains that Rachel Solando suffered from severe mental illness. She genuinely believed she was a loving mother. But the horrifying truth was that she had murdered her own children. Because of the severity of her condition, she was committed to Ashcliffe Hospital. Yet one question remains unanswered. If her room was locked, if every guard was at their assigned post, then how could she possibly have disappeared? Determined to find the answer, Teddy and Chuck inspect Rachel's cell themselves. The room is cold, empty, almost lifeless. At first glance, nothing seems unusual. But then, Teddy notices a small piece of paper hidden inside a crack in the wall. He carefully unfolds it. Only one message is written on it. "Who is number 67? That's it. Just one cryptic sentence. But it's enough to turn an already impossible case into an even greater mystery. Teddy immediately realizes this is no ordinary disappearance. Somewhere within the walls of Ashcliffe Hospital, a dangerous secret is being buried. Every doctor, every guard, every staff member seems to be hiding something. What Teddy doesn't realize is that the truth he's searching for won't just solve this case. It will completely change his life forever. Teddy can't stop staring at the mysterious note. Who is number 67? It doesn't feel like a random message. It feels intentional. As if Rachel Solando wanted someone to find it. But what does it mean? Who is number 67? The next morning, Teddy and Chuck begin searching every corner of the island alongside several security officers. They inspect the cliffs, the shoreline, the dense woods, every place where someone could possibly hide. But Rachel is nowhere to be found. During the search, Teddy notices an old lighthouse standing alone on the far side of the island. Something about it immediately catches his attention. He asks one of the guards what it's used for. The guard quickly replies that it's simply a maintenance facility containing hospital equipment. According to him, it has already been searched. But Teddy isn't convinced. The answer feels rehearsed, almost as if the guard wants him to stop asking questions. As they return to the hospital, Teddy asks Dr. Coley about the mysterious note. Instead of answering, the doctors exchange uneasy glances. No one gives him direct response. Their silence only deepens Teddy's suspicion. That evening, Dr. Coley invites Teddy and Chuck to dinner at his home. The atmosphere couldn't be more peaceful. Soft music fills the room. The ocean breeze drifts through the windows. Everything appears perfectly normal. But Teddy's mind is somewhere else. Without warning, painful memories from World War II begin flooding back. He sees himself walking through a frozen concentration camp. Snow covers the ground, but beneath it lie countless lifeless bodies. The horrifying scenes replay vividly in his mind. He remembers a wounded German soldier begging for mercy. Instead of finishing him off, Teddy walked away, leaving the man to suffer. The guilt has never left him. Later that night, Teddy meets another psychiatrist, Dr. Jeremiah Nehring. During their conversation, Teddy asks to see the records of Rachel's attending physician, Dr. Lester Sheehan. Dr. Nehring refuses. Without explanation, the discussion quickly becomes heated. Frustrated, Teddy storms away. Outside, a violent storm begins sweeping across the island. Rain crashes against the buildings. Powerful winds shake the trees. Lightning tears across the sky. The entire island feels darker than ever. Back in his room, Teddy studies the mysterious note again. He keeps repeating the words to himself. Who is number 67? Suddenly, the lights flicker. The room grows silent. And then, he sees his wife, Dolores. She's standing inside the burned remains of their old apartment. Ash drifts through the air like snow. Slowly, she walks toward him. Teddy rushes forward and embraces her. But something is terribly wrong. Her back is badly burned. As Teddy holds her, water begins pouring from her body, mixed with blood. She looks into his eyes and whispers, "The man you are looking for is still here." Moments later, her body crumbles into ashes. The room erupts into flames. Teddy jolts awake. It was another nightmare. Or, at least he hopes it was. Rain is leaking through the ceiling. The storm has grown even stronger. A guard informs him that the ferry service has been suspended. No one can leave the island until the weather clears. The next morning, Teddy intensifies his investigation. He questions doctors, nurses, guards, anyone who might know something. Yet every answer sounds strangely identical, almost as if everyone has memorized the same script. Later, Teddy interviews several patients. Some refuse to speak. Others stare at him without blinking. A few seem genuinely terrified. Eventually, he's allowed to speak with a female patient. He asks her about Rachel Solando. The woman calmly tells him that Rachel had been under the care of Dr. Sheehan, who she describes as a kind and compassionate doctor. During the interview, she asks Chuck if he could bring her a glass of water. Chuck politely leaves the room. The moment he's gone, the woman quickly grabs Teddy's notebook. She writes a single word, "Run." Then she quietly slides the notebook back. By the time Chuck returns, she's acting completely normal again, as if nothing ever happened. The interview ends. Outside the room, Teddy opens his notebook. Only one word is written across the page. "Run." His heartbeat quickens. Someone inside this hospital is trying to warn him. Someone wants him to leave before it's too late. But from what? Or from whom? The mystery surrounding Shutter Island is growing darker with every passing hour. And Teddy is beginning to realize he may not be investigating the island. The island may be investigating him. The word "run" keeps echoing in Teddy's mind. Someone inside Ashcliffe is trying to warn him. But why? Who can he trust? And more importantly, who wants him gone? Later that day, Teddy notices several senior doctors gathered inside a private conference room. As he quietly watches them from a distance, it becomes obvious that they're discussing him. Every move he makes, every question he asks, someone is keeping track of it. The investigation is no longer one-sided. Teddy isn't just watching the hospital is watching him. That evening, Chuck finally asks Teddy about name he's mentioned several times before. Andrew Lloyd Dees. Who is he? Teddy takes a deep breath before answering. He explains that Andrew Lloyd Dees is the man responsible for his wife's death. According to Teddy, Lloyd Dees was arrested and committed to Ashcliffe Hospital. But somehow, he vanished. Officially, no one seems to know where he is. Teddy admits that finding Rachel Solando isn't the only reason he came to Shutter Island. He requested this assignment himself, not just because he's a US Marshal, but because he intends to find Andrew Ladies and make him pay. He tells Chuck that Ladies has a noticeable scar on his face. But after everything Teddy has seen on the island, he's beginning to wonder if Andrew is even alive. Maybe someone silenced him. Maybe he's being hidden somewhere inside Ashcliff. Or worse, somewhere no one is allowed to go. As dark clouds gather overhead, Teddy and Chuck continue their investigation. Heavy rain begins pouring across the island. Powerful winds shake the trees. Seeking shelter, the two men take refuge inside an old cemetery mausoleum. The storm rages outside while silence fills the small stone structure. Chuck finally asks Teddy about the woman who secretly wrote "Run" in his notebook. Without saying a word, Teddy opens the notebook and shows him. Only one word is written across the page. "Run." Chuck studies the message. Neither of them knows what to make of it. After a long silence, Chuck asks the question that's been on his mind since they arrived. "Teddy, why did you really come here?" This time, Teddy doesn't avoid the question. He tells Chuck that he believes something far more sinister is happening inside Ashcliff Hospital. He doesn't think the hospital is simply treating mentally ill patients. He believes they're conducting secret psychological experiments. Experiments hidden from the government, hidden from the public, and hidden from the law. According to Teddy, mentally ill patients make the perfect victims. If they ever tell anyone what happened to them, no one will believe their stories. As Teddy speaks, painful memories from World War II begin flooding back once again. He remembers liberating a Nazi concentration camp, rows of frozen bodies, families torn apart, children who never had a chance. The horrors of that day still haunt him. Chuck quietly listens, then asks one final question. "So this isn't just about Andrew Ladies?" Teddy slowly shakes his head. "No. If I'm right, this place is hiding something much bigger." He tells Chuck about a former patient named George Noyes. George had once been confined to Ward C, the most dangerous section of the hospital. When George later appeared in court, he reportedly begged the judge for one thing: "I'd rather die than ever go back to that hospital." He claimed that terrifying things were happening inside Ward C. Things no one outside the island was ever supposed to know. That's why Teddy came to Shutter Island. Not only to find Andrew Ladies, but to expose the truth. Before they can continue talking, Deputy Warden McPherson arrives and orders them back to the hospital. By the time they return, both men are completely soaked. A guard hands Teddy a fresh pack of cigarettes while they change into dry clothes. Later that evening, Teddy and Chuck quietly observe another meeting between the hospital's senior staff. As they listen from outside the room, Dr. Nehring reviews the hospital's patient records. There are 42 patients in Ward A, 24 patients in Ward C, for a total of 66 patients. The moment Teddy hears that number, everything clicks. His eyes widen. The mysterious note. Who is number 67? If Ashcliff only has 66 patients, then who is patient number 67? Someone is missing from the official records. Or someone has been erased. Without hesitation, Teddy confronts Dr. Coley. He demands an explanation. For just a split second, Dr. Coley's calm expression disappears, but he quickly regains his composure. "There are only 66 patients here," he says calmly. "You are chasing ghosts." Teddy pulls out the note he found hidden inside Rachel's cell. He shows it to everyone in the room, but instead of answering his questions, the doctors dismiss it, as if the message means nothing. Then, without warning, an orderly rushes into the room with shocking news. Rachel Solando has been found. Teddy and Chuck immediately hurry to meet her. What they find makes no sense. Rachel has been missing for 2 full days. A violent storm swept across the island, yet she looks completely unharmed. She's barefoot, but her feet don't have a single cut or scratch. It's as though she was never outside at all. Teddy stares at her in disbelief. Something about this feels impossible. He asks the question everyone wants answered. "Rachel, where were you?" Rachel slowly turns toward him. For a brief moment, she smiles. Then she softly asks, "Why did you leave me?" Teddy freezes. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. But before he can respond, Rachel's expression suddenly changes. "My husband is dead," she says coldly. "I killed him." Then she looks Teddy directly in the eyes. Her voice is calm, almost emotionless. "So, who are you?" The room begins spinning. A sharp pain shoots through Teddy's head. The doctors immediately give him medication and tell him to rest. As Teddy is escorted back to his room, one terrifying thought refuses to leave his mind. The deeper he digs into this island, another terrifying dream. He finds himself back on the frozen battlefield of World War II. Snow blankets the ground. Bodies lie scattered everywhere. These screams of innocent people echo through the silence. Then, Rachel Solando appears among the dead. She stares directly at Teddy and asks, "Why didn't you save us?" Before he can answer, the scene suddenly changes. Andrew Lade disappears in front of him. Teddy reaches for his gun. But as he looks closer, Andrew's face slowly transforms into Chuck's. A deafening scream echoes through the darkness. Then Teddy notices 3 lifeless children lying beside a lake. He kneels down and picks up a little girl. She looks into his eyes and whispers, "Why didn't you save us?" Teddy suddenly wakes up, gasping for breath. Standing in the corner of his room is Dolores. She quietly says, "The man you are looking for is still on this island. Don't stop searching." And just like that, she disappears. The next morning, the storm has finally passed. The island is in ruins. Broken trees cover the roads. Power lines hang from shattered poles. The entire hospital is struggling to recover from the damage. Seeing the chaos, Teddy realizes this is the perfect opportunity. He turns to Chuck. "If we are ever going to get into Ward C, this is our chance." The two quietly make their way toward the hospital's most restricted section. Ward C, the place everyone has warned them about. Heavily armed guard unlocks the massive steel gate. He warns them that several dangerous patients have been moved because of the storm. "Stay alert," he says. "They can attack without warning." The moment Teddy steps inside, he feels the difference. The corridors are dark. The air is damp. The walls are stained with age. The entire ward feels less like a hospital and more like a prison. As they walk deeper inside, patient suddenly bolts down the hallway. Teddy and Chuck chase after him. But in the darkness, they become separated. Moments later, the patient lunges at Teddy. Instead of attacking him, the man asks an unexpected question. "Tell me, how does the hydrogen bomb work?" Confused, Teddy replies, "It works through a hydrogen reaction." The patient bursts into laughter. "No, it works through nuclear fusion." He begins describing how such a weapon could destroy entire cities. Millions of degrees. Unimaginable devastation. The conversation leaves Teddy shaken. His emotions spiral out of control. He grabs the patient in anger. Just then, Chuck arrives and pulls Teddy away before things get worse. Hospital staff escort the injured patient for treatment. Meanwhile, Teddy continues exploring Ward C alone. The darkness grows heavier with every step. He lights a match to guide his way. For just a few seconds, the flickering flame reveals dozens of patients silently staring through iron bars. Some are smiling. Some are whispering. Others never blink. Then, a familiar voice calls out from one of the cells. "Andrew." Teddy freezes. It's George Noyes, the former patient Teddy had heard about. George slowly steps closer to the bars. "You think you are investigating this place," he says. "But you are just another rat trapped inside the maze." Teddy demands answers. George leans closer. "The secret you are looking for. You are part of it." The match burns out. Darkness swallows the hallway. Teddy lights another one. This time George looks terrified. "They're taking me to the lighthouse," he whispers. "They're going to cut into my brain. It's happening because of you." Teddy tries to calm him. "No one's taking you anywhere." But George only shakes his head. As Teddy prepares to leave, George gives him one final warning. "Don't trust your own mind." Those words stay with Teddy long after he leaves the cell. Outside, Chuck tells Teddy he secretly searched the hospital records while helping the injured patient. He found Andrew Lady's admission file. But something was wrong. There was no photograph, no address, no personal information. Almost as if someone had deliberately erased his identity. Chuck offers to show Teddy the file later. But Teddy has already made up his mind. He wants to search the lighthouse immediately. The two men head toward the rocky shoreline. But the storm has raised the tide. Violent waves crash against the cliffs. The path has become incredibly dangerous. Chuck urges Teddy to wait until morning. It's too risky. But Teddy refuses. By now, even Chuck's behavior seems suspicious. A heated argument breaks out. Finally, Teddy walks away alone, determined to reach the lighthouse no matter what. After a long climb across the cliffs, he reaches a dead end. There's no safe way forward. Frustrated, he turns back. But when he returns, Chuck is gone. At first, Teddy thinks his partner wandered off. Then he spots Chuck's cigarette lying on the ground near the cliff's edge. Panic sets in. He rushes down toward the shoreline, calling Chuck's name over and over. Only the crashing waves answer him. Suddenly, dozens of rats pour out from beneath the rocks. As Teddy steps back, he notices something hidden nearby. A cave. And inside, a faint light. Carefully, Teddy enters. A frightened woman immediately points a knife at him. He slowly raises his hands. "I'm a US Marshal," he says. "My name is Teddy Daniels." The woman lowers the knife. Then she says something that changes everything. "My name is Rachel Solando." Teddy is stunned. If this woman is Rachel, then who is the patient back at the hospital? Rachel explains that she was once a doctor at Ashcliffe. According to her, she discovered illegal experiments being performed on patients. When she threatened to expose the truth, the hospital declared her insane. Now she has been hiding inside this cave ever since. She tells Teddy that the lighthouse isn't a treatment facility. It's where the hospital performs secret brain experiments. Anyone who learns the truth is either labeled insane or never seen again. Teddy listens carefully. Every word sounds believable. Yet something still doesn't feel right. Is this woman telling the truth? Or is she simply another patient trapped inside her own delusions? For the first time, Teddy no longer knows what or who to believe. And the lighthouse has become the only place where he believes he'll finally find the truth. The next morning, Teddy leaves the cave and heads back toward the hospital. On the way, Deputy Warden McPherson offers him a ride. The drive is too quiet. Then, without warning, McPherson smiles and asks, "What would you do if I pulled out your teeth right now?" Teddy stares at him. "Go ahead and try." The strange conversation only reinforces Teddy's belief that everyone on this island is playing mind games with him. Back at Ashcliffe, Dr. Coley calmly asks where Teddy spent the night. "I searched the entire island," Teddy replies. Then he immediately asks, "Where's Chuck?" Dr. Coley looks confused. "Chuck? There is no Chuck. You came to this island alone." For a moment, the world seems to stop. Teddy can't believe what he's hearing. Everyone is denying Chuck's existence. Every doctor, every guard, every staff member. Now Teddy is convinced that the hospital has kidnapped his partner. Without wasting another second, he makes up his mind. He's going to the lighthouse, no matter what it takes. As he makes his way across the island, he encounters Dr. Nehring. Teddy notices a syringe in the doctor's pocket and instantly assumes they're trying to drug him again. He forces Dr. Nehring to lead him toward the lighthouse, but armed guards block the road. Thinking quickly, Teddy sets a nearby vehicle on fire. The explosion sends everyone rushing toward the flames. In the chaos, Teddy slips away unnoticed. He swims through the rough water, climbs the rocky shoreline, and finally reaches the lighthouse. His heart pounds with anticipation. He's certain he'll find Chuck inside. He's certain he'll uncover the secret laboratory. He's certain he'll expose the truth. But once inside, nothing is there. No hidden operating rooms. No experimental equipment. No prisoners. Only silence. Confused, Teddy climbs to the top floor. He slowly opens the final door. Inside, Dr. Coley is sitting alone. On the table rests Teddy's revolver, the same one he surrendered when he first arrived. Teddy immediately accuses Dr. Coley of running illegal experiments and manipulating everyone on the island. But Dr. Coley remains remarkably calm. Instead of arguing, he simply says, "Teddy, it's time to tell you the truth." Teddy refuses to listen. He insists he met the real Rachel Solando inside the cave. He knows the hospital is hiding something. Dr. Coley gently shakes his head. "No, Teddy. The conspiracy, the experiments, the lighthouse, they exist only inside your mind." Teddy's anger boils over. Then Dr. Coley says the words that change everything. "You are Andrew Leddes, the 67th patient." The room falls silent. Teddy is stunned. He immediately rejects the claim. He accuses the doctors of trying to drive him insane. Dr. Coley calmly slides patient file across the table. "Andrew Leddes." Teddy reluctantly opens it. The records describe a decorated World War II veteran who suffered severe psychological trauma. Unable to cope with the unbearable pain of his past, he created an entirely different identity. A US Marshal named Teddy Daniels. Then Dr. Coley reveals something even more shocking. The names aren't random. Edward Daniels is an anagram of Andrew Leddes, and Dolores Channel is an anagram of Rachel Solando. Everything Teddy believed, every mystery he chased, every clue he uncovered, was created by his own fractured mind. Dr. Coley explains that Andrew was committed to Ashcliffe 2 years earlier after being declared criminally insane. To escape reality, he buried his memories beneath an elaborate fantasy. A fantasy where he became Teddy Daniels, hero searching for his wife's killer. Dr. Coley reminds him of George Noyes, the patient who kept calling him Andrew. He wasn't lying. Andrew simply refused to hear the truth. Then Dr. Coley reveals the purpose behind the entire investigation. None of it was real. The hospital allowed Andrew to live out his fantasy as part of an experimental therapy. Every doctor, every nurse, every guard, even Chuck, all of them played a role in the hope that Andrew would finally confront reality on his own. If this final attempt failed, there would be only one option left: a lobotomy. At that moment, the door opens. Chuck walks in, but he's no longer acting like a US Marshal. He smiles gently. "My name is Dr. Lester Sheehan. I've been your psychiatrist all along." Andrew is devastated. His closest companion, his partner, never existed. Dr. Sheehan quietly asks one final question. If the conspiracy is real, where's the laboratory? Where are the experiments? You searched the entire island. You never found them, because they were never there. Andrew collapses into a chair. His entire world is falling apart. For one last desperate moment, he grabs the revolver from the table and fires at Dr. Coley. Click. Nothing happens. The gun contains no bullets. Reality begins breaking through the walls of his delusion. Then, the doctors place old family photographs in front of him. Andrew stares at them, and suddenly, the memories come rushing back. He remembers coming home that terrible afternoon. His wife, Dolores, is sitting quietly beside the lake. At first, everything seems peaceful. Then he notices something floating in the water. One child, then another, then third. All three of his children are dead. He pulls their bodies from the lake one by one, holding them tightly in his arms, completely broken. Then Dolores calmly says, "Set me free." Only then does Andrew finally accept the truth. His wife had drowned their children during a psychotic episode. Heartbroken beyond words, Andrew pulled out his revolver and shot her. That unbearable memory shattered his mind. Everything that followed, Teddy Daniels, Andrew Ledis, Rachel Solando, the conspiracy, the lighthouse, was his mind's desperate attempt to escape a reality too painful to face. When Andrew awakens later in the hospital, Dr. Coley asks him a single question. "Why did you kill your wife?" Andrew answers through tears. "Because she killed my children." For the first time, he has accepted the truth. The doctors are hopeful. The treatment appears to have worked. The next morning, the skies are clear. Andrew quietly sits on the hospital steps. Dr. Sheehan joins him and offers him a cigarette. For a few peaceful moments, neither of them speaks. Then Andrew quietly says, "We'd better get off this island, partner. The place gives me the creeps." Dr. Sheehan's expression changes instantly. The doctors are devastated. They believe Andrew has slipped back into his delusion. With no other choice, they order the procedure. The guards arrive to escort Andrew away. As he stands to leave, he turns toward Dr. Sheehan and calmly says, "Which would be worse? To live as a monster, or to die as a good man?" Dr. Sheehan freezes, because in that single moment, he realizes something. Maybe Andrew wasn't delusional after all. Maybe he remembered everything, and instead of spending the rest of his life carrying the unbearable guilt of what happened to his wife and children, he chose the lobotomy. Not because he had lost his mind again, but because forgetting was easier than living with the truth. And that's exactly why, more than a decade later, Shutter Island remains one of the greatest psychological thrillers ever made. So here's the question. Did Andrew truly relapse into his delusion? Or did he knowingly accept the lobotomy because living with the painful memories of his wife and children was simply too much to bear? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.